Hello and welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, tarot enthusiast, and professional witch, and today I'm talking about the October Forever Tarot spread. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it for free is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. If you love the podcast and want to support it further and be part of a community, you can join the Everyday Tarot Patreon family. Some of the benefits include getting an individual card pulled for you once a month live on the podcast during my new moon collective tarot readings. Or if you'd like to support the podcast even further, you can pay a little bit more and get a one-time individual 5-card reading with me, in addition to all the other benefits if you join the Witch Bitch level on the Patreon. I recently recorded an hour-long video episode for the new moon that we welcomed in this week on October 21st, 2025. If you missed the live, you can check out the new moon collective tarot reading replay in the show notes. As a bonus for the Queer Joy Summit that just wrapped up about a week ago, I created a Queer Coven Spooky Tarot spread, and I wanted to give you all a chance to grab it even if you weren't a part of the summit. So it's a Halloween and queer themed 6-card spread in the shape of a bat. So you can go ahead and grab that. The link is in the show notes to purchase that now. I was recently on Kayla Moore's Connected Pleasure podcast, which was a blast. You can check out my episode of Kayla's podcast where we talked all about living by the body, dreaming of land, and weaving the future. I also have the link to Kayla's offer page in the show notes. Kayla is a certified sex therapist and also a witchy person. You can check out recent episodes of their Connected Pleasure podcast to hear about their upcoming journey as they go on to become a high priestess. So yeah, they were lovely to talk to. I actually interviewed them as well for my podcast. So in the next couple of months, I will be having a full guest season to talk about some of the lovely folks that I've been able to connect with about tarot. And on that note, I am looking for more guests to be on the podcast. So if you're interested or know someone that might be a good fit, I have like a Google form to fill out to be a guest on the podcast. If you are interested, fill it out yourself. If you know someone who might be a good fit or that you would love to hear talk about their tarot journey on the podcast, send the link to them, or you can always email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com, to send their info my way, and I can reach out to them as well. If you want to work with me more directly and maybe you don't live local to me, I am kicking off my Tarot for Transformation workshops starting in 2026 in January. So we will be going one a month and deep diving the first 12 of the major arcana cards all together. And this will look like embodying archetypes. I will most likely dress up as each card, and we'll be having like a couple-hour workshop once a month. And if you're unable to attend live, you can always get the replay after and talk about the archetype, how we embody it, learn how to transform ourselves through the tarot by talking about what practices we can incorporate that month, any rituals, or just how to really embody the message of each of the major arcana tarot cards. So I think this will be a very fun project for 2026. So yeah, go ahead and get on the interest list if you're interested, so I can start sending you more info about it. If you don't already know, I am a sex and relationship therapist and coach, seeing individual and relational clients virtually all over from my home office. I love working with queer, poly, and witchy clients. So if you'd like to work with someone that doesn't judge you, is witchy just like you, and helps you learn how to deal with anxiety, chronic pain or illness, communication issues, self-advocacy, and sex, head to my website and book a free consultation now to start your journey. You may have heard me talk about creating your own tarot cards or my tarot card crafting workshop. And maybe you're like, Camille, I don't think I have the art skills for that. I've seen tarot decks, they're elaborate. No worries. You can learn how to create your own tarot cards using collage. So it's a pretty easy method, all right? Just like you might have done as a kid, cutting things out of magazines or saving art from calendars, or you can of course draw your own if you would like. So if that sounds interesting to you and maybe you want a project for this winter, if you're like me in the Northern Hemisphere where it gets dark and dreary, this would be super fun to do that. So you can get my full workshop, which includes an hour-long recording with my step-by-step method, examples of the cards I've created, a supplies list of recommended supplies or what I use, some journaling questions to kind of get your brain turning on how you might want to create your cards, or are you picking images first and then seeing what card matches that, or are you picking a card first and seeing what images you find, and then if all else fails, there's a PDF workbook to walk you through it for just $33. So the link is in the show notes to purchase that now. If you're interested in my 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you, the lovely listeners of my podcast, at the beginning of this year, you can get that by joining my newsletter list. My weekly newsletter always has the most up-to-date info on upcoming events, presentations, musings, and info and photos of my day-to-day life. If you're local and you maybe want to meet me in person, you can check out my Let's Talk Tarot meetup group. The next upcoming events are the full moon circles that I'm doing with my colleague Evvie, where we're holding full moons women circles for the rest of 2025. So you can join us under the glow of the full moon for an evening of connection, reflection, and ritual. We meet at Thresholds Collective in Tacoma in their lovely yoga studio space the first Sunday of the month to welcome in the full moon together. So upcoming dates are November 2nd, which is coming up soon, and then also December 7th. So the tickets are already out for those. We have a maximum limit of 15 people that can fit in the space. But yeah, it's super fun. We do it's a 90-minute kind of circle time where we create an altar. I bring my tarot cards. My colleague Evvie brings their yoga therapy knowledge and also some Ayurvedic or Eastern astrology or Vedic astrology information. Evvie does our astrology update at the beginning to connect with the astrology around the full moon that we are going through and some of the themes around it. I do a collective tarot reading, and then usually we all pull some cards on a prompt and share and see what comes up out of that, see where we're connecting and reflecting on themes for the month. Generally, I lead like a guided meditation in the beginning as well, and then we do some sort of embodiment practice. So we've done some dancing sometimes or some restorative yoga poses, and then usually we end with a ritual where we either we're writing down things we're manifesting or things we're letting go of. And then we go outside and burn those papers, those intentions in my mini cast iron cauldron outside the studio, sort of release and celebrate ritual for the end of that full moon together. And then we usually come back and do any sort of final reflection together. So it's a lovely space. We always have new folks attending, so it's very fun. And yeah, it's just nice to be able to celebrate the full moon together in that way. All right, so you can find the links for any of these offers in the show notes or on my website, CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull for each episode. All right, so welcome to season 17, goodness, where I'm talking all about autumn tarot spreads. So we're doing seasonal tarot spreads for this season. If you haven't listened to my other seasons yet, you can check those out. Maybe if it's not autumn for you, or if you're interested in more common tarot spreads, or maybe you're just getting started, season 5 has 13 different tarot spreads in that one. So if you love this season and you want more, you can check out season 5. So earlier on from in the year, where I did 13 common tarot spreads, some simple ones, some past, present, future, all the way up to doing the 10 card Celtic cross spread, which is a lot, or at least it takes a long time to kind of like debrief of it. So yeah, that was very fun. I also have lots of other seasons as well, but I just thought I would highlight that one. And I just wrapped up my season on queer deities and their connection to tarot. So if that sounds interesting to you, check out that as well. All right, so today we are doing the October Forever Tarot spread. I found this on Interrobang Tarot, created by Evvie, on their website, interrobangtarot.com, and for their autumn Halloween spread. And it's a 6-card spread with fairly simple prompts, just like a 1-word prompt. So I'll go through sort of the idea of the spread, and then we'll get into it. So it says, this spread is for cultivating the best autumnal qualities within the self and holding them in your heart year round. So the prompts are crisp, sensual, spooked, delighted, grounded, and masked. So those are kind of our 6 one-word prompts. There's a little bit of more like phrasing afterwards. So as we get into the spread itself, I can elaborate on those as well. But all right, so grab your tarot decks if you're going along with me. We'll have the link to the tarot spread if you want to see the original image that they used. They just do 3 cards at the top and 3 at the bottom, so like 2 rows of cards. And I'm going to go ahead and grab one of my tarot decks so we can get started. All right, so today I'm going to be going through the Desert Illuminations Tarot deck by Lindsay D. Williams. This is a Southwest USA artistic inspired deck. So it's got a lot of those bright Southwest colors like turquoise, some neon pink and purples as well. I really like this deck, and it's been fun doing this tarot spread season because a different deck is calling to me every episode right now, which is kind of fun. Usually I can sometimes get into like a habit of using the same tarot cards for a while, especially when I'm doing seasons where we're relating each episode to a different card, like with the queer deities season, I was pulling or finding cards that I felt like matched the deities, and so I was using some of the same decks for that. But this has been fun because this sort of stretches me to use many or different of my 11 decks so far that I have. All right. So we're going to get into it, one final shuffle. And like I said, okay, so how I like to do it is I lay out all the cards first in the spread order. So 1, 2, 3 across the top, and then 1, 2, 3 across the bottom. And then I do them face down generally, and then I flip them over as I sort of like read the prompt. So the first one is crisp, and it says crisp to cultivate freshness and alertness. So I pulled, wow, it is not wanting to show me. Okay, the 7 of chilies, which in this deck is equivalent to the 7 of wands, because wands are fiery, just like hot chilies. So that is how I remember that. And chilies, I think, is the last part of my deck. I've actually pulled this card a lot. The 7 of chilies. There's a snake that guards the steps of an adobe palace decorated in gorgeous pottery and chili pepper recess. The snake is staring out, defending its territory from any intruder that tries to cross its path. There are also spiked cactus booby traps on the way up the steps for added protection. After a period of success, the haters will no doubt start to show up almost out of nowhere. These folks covet what you have and will try to challenge you in everything you believe in. You are now in a position where you need to protect everything you have worked so hard for. Stand firm on your foundation when things get tough and these people become hard to manage. Remember, if you are exhausted by others and their negativity, try not to engage with them. Instead, surround yourself with people who support your growth and success unconditionally. So I think for this one, as we think about crisp to cultivate freshness and alertness, I've been thinking a lot about burnout and like boundaries in the last 2 weeks. I actually did a burnout tarot spread on my New Moon Collective tarot reading that I did on October 21st. I have the whole video for that, video podcast episode for that, linked in the show notes if you want to check it out. But yeah, I think this is a very like set boundaries, stand firm on your foundation when things get tough and these people become hard to manage, and that try not to engage with people that are exhausting you or are extremely negative. So I feel like this is like we're showing up as perhaps a little burnt out, and this card is calling us into, right, to kind of like build those walls. I know that's not always like a positive thing in the way we talk about it. It can be a trauma response to kind of protect ourselves or isolate ourselves from others. But as we go into, right, a fall season, which is all about kind of turning inward, again, kind of looking at our own resources and energy, and not doing so much external creation or that this is telling us, right, look, reflect on how you're doing and kind of surround yourself with people who support your growth and success unconditionally, and like cut out people that aren't doing that, right? Again, the image for this card is like these different kind of like protections, like a snake, the hot chili peppers, the cactus that they say is set as like a booby trap, right? So these are all for protection, and those can be maybe seen as extreme forms of protection, but we have to protect ourselves too, sort of energetically, especially when we're turning more inward. We can get very exhausted by the external process if we get too caught up in that in this fall season. All right, so our next card is Sensual, to cultivate sensuality and to hone the senses. So these are some of our autumnal qualities. Okay, I pulled the Chariot. How fun. I love the Chariot card. Let's see here. The Chariot is the number 7 in tarot. So the Chariot is associated with the zodiac sign of Cancer, the element of water, and the throat chakra as defined by this deck. The Chariot card in this deck is based on Buffalo Bill. He took his extravagant Wild West show all across the US and worldwide, promoting the myths, legends, and awe-inspiring stories of the Wild West. The Chariot expresses the energy of the divine will and turning your ideas into action with determination and control. This card reminds you that anything is possible as long as you stay focused on your goals. Be strong and courageous and have faith in yourself. Take the risk and be confident that it will all be worth the effort. So, right, I think with the sensual prompting to cultivate sensuality and hone the senses, right, there is this like energy to this card where it's saying, right, like turn your attention to the things that are inspiring you, that are having you take action. Think long term, right? Think about that. Think, again, like of the future when we think about our goals. Maybe they're not for right now, but maybe for the spring. Be strong and courageous and have faith in yourself, and that like it's time to take a risk, and to be confident in that it will all be worth the effort. So, right, the Chariot is all about kind of like blazing trails and moving forward. So this is saying, right, in order to cultivate sensuality and hone our senses, to kind of like cultivate pleasure in our lives, we have to follow our passions, which makes sense here. Okay, let's get into card 3, which is Spooked, to cultivate that sweet haunted feeling within the spirit without inviting too much haunted trouble. Okay, and this is the Page of Jugs, which would be the equivalent of Page of Cups. here. So, right, we're in our emotions here, which is what we're talking about getting spooked. So the Page of Jugs is based on the notorious Billy the Kid, who raised hell all over the West. His jug overflowed with the creative energy of a young mind. However, his choices were not the best. His emotional immaturity got him into a lot of trouble and indirectly made him one of the most infamous Wild West outlaws. Unfortunately, his crimes and rather chaotic life journey later found him laid to rest in New Mexico. So let's see here. Oh, there's a little bit more. As humans, we are completely imperfect. Some people express this creative energy in different ways, either for good or evil. How you use this new energy is entirely up to you. You are at the beginning stage of opportunity, but it is up to you to decide your fate. Explore all the dark and light sides of yourself so you can make informed decisions, right? So this is the Spooked, right? We are cultivating the haunted feeling within the spirit without inviting too much trouble, right? Which again, as they talk about here, right? Like there's a lot of like emotional immaturity possible or getting in trouble, right? Sometimes if we just follow our desires and not think of or deal with the consequences, right? We might have things be kind of like high risk, high reward, or high risk, high consequences. So I think this card is saying, right, like we are finding the balance between, right, opportunities and new energy, but exploring, right, what are our strengths and weaknesses, right, of ourselves? How can we, right, sometimes go too far in some ways, the dark, light, and light sides of ourselves. So again, like the new moon that we just had on the 21st was at the end of Libra season. We just entered Scorpio season. And again, so Libra is all about balance. And Scorpio is kind of about that like protecting of self, right? If you think of a literal scorpion, that like everything's good until you fuck with me, right? That's the sort of Scorpio mentality perhaps. And so I think that that's kind of riding this line right here. Okay, for card 4, it says delighted, to cultivate pleasure, comfort, and joy. I pulled the Trickster, which is the 0 card in this deck, or also known as the Fool. And here it's depicted as like a dancing coyote, basically, with butterflies flying all around. It's very magical looking. So the Trickster in this deck is associated with the planet Uranus, the element air, and the crown chakra. So the Trickster card is based on the trickster or Hano clown of the Hopi culture. Sacred clowns and tricksters have served humanity by helping ease societal tension, using humor and trickery and satire to highlight taboos and traditions. The trickster begins at 0, which signifies the essence of being human at its most youthful and childlike form. The trickster is looking into the distance with a fresh perspective on their new journey in life, ready to take on all the unforeseen challenges that lie ahead, right? So this is our delighted, right? Our playfulness. Where do we find pleasure and joy, right? It is sometimes in that satire. It is in that sort of inner child, our youthful and childlike form. So maybe, right, this is also a month of exploring things that maybe you enjoyed as a child. For me, that's always like coloring, some playing outside in the mud, observing, doing lots of maybe taking pictures outside. I've always loved, like, I've always had cameras, digital cameras, or nice cameras, and my dad was very much a videographer of our childhood, lots of home videos and lots of photos. So that's definitely a role I also play, although I love more of the landscape, the non-human parts of photos, or the nature sort of thing. So that really gets me thinking about like, ooh, that brings me joy and comfort. And I know in this season, we moved on to new property in August. And so this will be my first year like experiencing every season on this property. So we sort of started in late summer, we're transitioning into fall. So for me, I'm like, oh yeah, I really want to be like documenting that and appreciating it and taking notice of it so that I kind of know what to expect for the future. Ready to take on all the unforeseen challenges that lie ahead. Kind of having, again, that sort of like beginner mindset or youthful energy. All right, card number 5 is the prompt is grounded, to cultivate grounding and connection to the environment. All these cards feel so aligned. Of course, I pulled like a Pentacles card for grounding. It's the 9 of Pentacles, or in this deck, the 9 of Cactus. And it depicts a 10-armed alien, which I love. Okay. 9 of Cactus. 9-armed. My apologies. A 9-armed alien is perched on top of a giant blooming saguaro cactus. A large pink cactus flower emits the flame of eternal wisdom while the being sits in deep meditation. This card invites you to step into your power. You have achieved many of your goals, and you can now enjoy the luxuries of your success. Your independence, strength, and power are blossoming into beautiful cactus flowers. You should not feel guilty or shy about treating yourself or indulging in this positive moment. You have worked so hard and you deserve this. However, now is not the time to slack off because there is still more to achieve. Sit back, enjoy some self-care, and then crush some more goals, right? So this prompt was about to cultivate grounding and connection to the environment. So, right, this is saying enjoy what you have, right? Again, for me, I think that's going to look like walking all around the property as this winter season comes in and thinking about the different things and observing and journaling about my observations, but also like enjoying being in this new space and a new home. I'm actually having a housewarming party in 2 days, so I'm very much thinking about that of like, ooh, let me like actually enjoy where I live and enjoy my space now that we are a bit more settled in. And right, this is also the 9, right? So if we think about the minor arcana as a microcosm of the hero's journey, so we're going from ace to 10. So 10s are completion. So 9s are like, ooh, we're almost there, right? So this is that idea of, okay, like, we're not quite there yet. You're not like past the finish line. Again, for me on this property, it's like, okay, the house is good. We're like mostly set up. We have some art on the walls, so we mostly have all the boxes unpacked. And like, there's still more, right? We haven't worked really on the outside part of the house at all, or any of this 26 acres that we now have. A lot of it is beautiful, wild forests and wetland area. But I certainly have lots of plans for the cleared areas, a garden and livestock and a sauna and a cold plunge, like all these different things that I would like to do. So I think for me right now, that's like a lot of like enjoying what we have and moving slowly in this season. And again, like doing a lot of observing of the property over winter, but also starting to, right, try to imagine like what would be the culmination, what would be the goals, like the 6-month goal, the 1-year goal, the 3-year goal, the 5-year goal, all of those type of things, and actually connecting to, right, again, my place, like your place, whatever that is, your home, your literal property, the town that you're in, the state that you're in, whatever it is, like connecting in that way. And that also, right, enjoy it and also like keep going on your goals. That's what this card says. All right, finally is the prompt masked, to play with appearance, including through character, costume, and glamour, while exploring and revealing deeper truths. Okay, I pulled the 9 of chilies, which would be the 9 of wands traditionally. And immediately upon looking on this card, I'm like, yeah, she has a very serene look to her. So it says, a confident woman is holding a giant southwestern vase on her shoulder while dressed to the nines in gorgeous weaved poncho. The weight that she is carrying from the vase is symbolic of being able to carry her day's worth of challenges before the evening sets in. She is strong, but tired from carrying the heavy vases up and down the adobe steps all day. This card is all about getting through tough times with resilient energy. You've endured so much, and through it all, you have gained a substantial amount of thick skin. You also know that you have what it takes to get through anything and have the wisdom to think creatively to prosper no matter the challenge. Because of what you have endured, you are an inspiration to others. Don't let jealousy or petty matters get to you and make you feel insecure, right? So I think this one, right, is the idea of being masked. It's sort of like unmasking, right? Perhaps the parts of ourselves that allow ourselves to be vulnerable, or right, allow ourselves to inspire other people. Right? We have learned a lot through maybe the things that you've done in your work and your home, with being in a relationship with people, and whatever it is that you do, and doing art, in crafting, in gardening, and again, whatever it is that you do, you've learned a lot, right? And like, you have to acknowledge like how much you have gained through that. And then also, right, that we're not hiding from people our knowledge, right, of exploring and revealing deeper truths. We have to share what we know. I always think of the Hermit card, or at least right now I'm thinking of the Hermit card, because the Hermit, again, kind of like when we often talk about hermiting in general, it's like, oh, it's withdrawing from society, which like that is part of it. But the Hermit card is really about you're withdrawing from society in order to learn, to reflect inward, to see what it is you want to learn, contribute, and then you come back and you integrate your knowledge. You teach other people, you share what you've learned, what works for you, and operate from that place, right? So again, like we think about the prompt of mask, to play with appearance, including through character, costume, and glamour, while exploring and revealing deeper truths. Like you get to decide how you, right, appear to others, what you choose to share, what maybe archetypes you embody as you do so. But also, right, that requires a level of vulnerability. We have to allow people to see us and to listen to us. Having a podcast is a great way to do this, although of course you don't see me very often. Maybe if you watch my New Moon Collective Tarot readings, you see me on there. But right, like this allows me to have a level of vulnerability and to get deeper into what's coming up for me and what I see in the collective as I do tarot spreads. And also, as I think I talked about earlier, but I'll transition into sort of like the end of the show for today. But yeah, for the journey of the Tarot for Transformation that I'm kicking off in January 2026, this is part of what I hope to be doing, is this like choosing, right, to put on a mask or an archetype each month. And like I said, I will be choosing to do that. I will be literally dressing up. I will be thinking about what would the Fool act like, right? What would the Fool do? What would, right? This is the trickster in this deck, right? What does that look like? There's the playfulness, right? There's a this or that. And then as we move into the next month, it will be like, okay, what does, right, the Magician bring to our life? How do we do our routines with a magical bent to them? Is that like having ritual? Is that, so this is sort of what I'm conceiving of here, what I'm conceptualizing and creating for the future, is this sort of spending more time with each archetype and the mask, the character, the costume, the glamour, and seeing like what, again, like exploring and revealing those deeper truths that come from embodying that energy. Because I think we often do that maybe not with a lot of intentionality though. Some of us do, again, maybe how you decorate your home or what clothing you choose to wear. But I think this magical spiritual element can be interwoven with that if it's not something that you already do. So I'm excited to share some of the ways that like I do that already, and that allowing the tarot to transform me as we talk about archetypes and embodying different characters and costumes and glamours, what that brings to our life. So that's why I'm so excited about it. I keep trying to speak about it and to kind of allow you to see what I see in my head of this great vision of what it could be, and be more clear about that, because you're like, tarot for transformation, Camille, what are we transforming? To me, I'm like, oh, we're transforming our lives. But I think I need to, I've been practicing pulling out bits and pieces of what I see through that. Anyway, so the link will be in the show notes to indicate your interest in Tarot for Transformation. This will just get you on my email list to send you info about what that's going to look like for next year. When are things, what are things, what's the cost, etc. So my plan is to do one tarot card a month for 12 months of calls and journaling. I'll have workshops every month that you can attend live or watch recordings of, to allow ourselves to transform our lives through the tarot, if that's a thing that that is calling to you, which is certainly calling to me, and that's why I want to share it. So links for the tarot decks I talk about in these episodes will always be in the show notes and on my website if you'd like to look at them or purchase them. And you can usually check out my social media as well, for this one, for the card spreads, the cards I pulled, and I have the link to the spread itself and where I found it if you want to do it on your own. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. You can email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com, with your thoughts, questions, and more. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.